How's it going, guys? Engin and Ryan Bowen squashed their beef. Levon Saganashvili accuses Ermes FAKE of using fake weights, and King of the Table 14 is lining up to be one of the greatest cards we've had yet. We'll get to everything in today's video. Alright guys, as usual, today's video will be split up into chapters, so if you want to skip around and find parts of the video that you're more interested in, feel free to do so, and they will be in the description. So let's start off with the Engin and Ryan Bowen situation. So these guys have been on bad terms for a while now, and Ryan Bowen has not been commentating or competing at East vs. West for quite some time. He did have a match a ways back with Coach Ray, where he lost, and I think since then he has not competed at East vs. West. But recently, Engin and Ryan Bowen had a podcast together where they spoke about the state of the arm wrestling world, and it seems like they have squashed the beef, and we may see Ryan Bowen commentating at East vs. West again and possibly competing, although I don't think he really deserves to be competing at the highest level. He has proven that controversy kind of follows him wherever he goes, but I will say I have enjoyed his commentary in the past. I think he's probably one of the best commentators. I think he does a better job than most of the guys that are there right now, so I would not mind this. I think it'd be good to get him back on the mic. He does a good job of explaining things, and he does just have a good radio voice. Alright, let's move on. So if you didn't catch AWC4, it was streamed over on Magda's channel on YouTube, and the main event of that card was Krasimir Kostadinov versus Frank Lamparelli. Now, I thought this match was definitely going to go in favor of Frank Lamparelli. He has proven that he's got an amazing top roll, incredible hand control, and Krasimir has kind of been on a rocky road for the past couple of years. He lost really badly to Matt Mask a while back, and I thought since Frank has better hand control than Matt Mask, for sure he's going to get the win over Krasi, but Krasi beat him 3-0. Krasi looks really good right now. His wrist is made of iron, so I think it's time we see Krasimir get back on the East vs. West table, and I think he's going to be pretty happy with this result. Alright, let's move on. So recently Levon has made the comment that Ermes FAKE is using fake weights, or that he may be using fake weights, and that the reason Levon doesn't show his lifts is because he wants Ermes to think he has a chance at winning. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me this kind of sounds like Levon might be a little bit scared. He's seeing the weights that Ermes is lifting, and I think by any metric you have to admit they are very impressive numbers, and I think this is kind of his way of making excuses for not showing his lifts, because now instead of actually lifting those weights, he can just say, oh, I definitely can lift more, I'm just not showing because I want Ermes to think he has a chance. And Ermes responded with a video where he basically said this. He said, the only reason you're saying they're fake is because you can't lift these weights, which I think was a fantastic response. And this harkens back to a point that Ermes made in one of his interviews with Engin where he basically said that Levon is much closer to his peak than he is. So the improvements that he's going to be able to make coming into this match are going to be much more significant than the improvements that Levon is able to make. So we'll see. I still think Levon wins. He probably crushes him again, but this is some good banter, and I think Ermes definitely came out on top with this one. Alright, let's move on. This is my favorite part of the video, and this is where I get to talk about all of the matches that have been announced for King of the Table 14 on May 10th. So let's start out with Vitaly versus Monster Michael Todd. So I have already talked about this match in a previous video. I made my prediction. I predicted that Monster Michael Todd will beat Vitaly. I do believe that he's going to be able to get the stop in the first or second round, and from there it's going to be an uphill battle for Vitaly Laletin. Vitaly has amazing side pressure, really good grip strength, but he does generally lose his cupping when he pulls good top rollers. And if there's anything Michael Todd is good at, it is taking the hand of his opponent. I think if you want to beat Michael Todd, you have to have a good press. We saw that with Ermes FAKE and with Devin Larratt's last match. You have to start out by climbing over the hand of Michael Todd, beating his riser, and then going for a press. And Vitaly may have the ability to do that. He may have the ability to climb over Michael Todd's hand, but I don't think he has the ability to press from there. No matter how much of an advantage he gets with his rise, I don't think he can press Michael Todd. So we'll see. I'm hoping this match is closer than how I'm thinking it'll go, but I would be really surprised if Vitaly was able to pull off the win in this one. Alright, next we'll move to Kamil versus Georgy on the left arm. So I haven't seen a whole lot of Georgy on the left arm. I know on the right arm he's very good. He's an elite hook puller, and I think they probably put this match together because it is a stylistic disadvantage for Kamil but then again, we have to remember this is on the left arm, and Kamil's left is very good. It's probably probably top 5 in the world. I'm not sure what the rankings are right now, but he is incredibly good on the left arm, and I haven't seen a whole lot of Georgy on the left. If this was on the right arm, I'd probably have to go with Georgy Dzernov, just because he beat Ravazlu Tidzi. He was able to curl him into a hook, and I thought that was a pretty impressive win. But since it is on the left, I think I'm going to have to go with Kamil. Let's move on to Artur Makarov versus Daniel Prokopchuk. So with this one, I'm going to have to go with Artur. He has the most insane hand and forearm genetics that I think I've ever seen, other than Oleg Zak. And I'm sure you'll remember he just beat Mindaugas 4-0. Well, I guess he didn't just do it. It's been a while now, but 4-0 against Mindaugas Terasitis. That is super impressive. And he never even lost his hand until the very last round when he went for the pin, and he was able to get it, obviously. So super impressive strength from Artur Makarov, amazing cupping, and so I just can't see Daniel winning this one. I think Artur is better in the hook, and I don't think Daniel can top roll him. All right, let's move on to Paul Lin versus Davit Samusha. So I'll be honest, guys, most of the matches on this card are so hard to call. Really, Engin did a good job with the stylistic matchups on this one. All of these matches, barring a few, are going to be really close in my opinion, and they are just so hard to call. And Paul Lin versus Davit Samusha is another one of those matches. So from what I've heard, Davit Samusha is moving up to 95 kg. So Paul Lin and Davit Samusha have pulled before, and Paul won 3-2. It was a war, and the way Paul Lin was able to win was by employing a high hook along with a ton of back pressure. But whenever he got sucked into a deep hook, Davit definitely had the upper hand. And even in the rounds where Paul did win, Davit was able to get the stop, and I think with him gaining weight and moving up to 95 kg, he's gonna be able to get the stop. He's gonna have better endurance than Paul Lin, and I think he's gonna win this one. All right, let's move on to Petro Marharant versus Lachlan Adair. This is another one of those impossible matches to predict. I think I'm gonna go with Petro on this one. I'm sure you guys know who Nugo Chikadze is. He's all the rage right now. Well, guess what? Petro beat Nugo. Petro beat Zurab in the hook, and I think he's just gonna be too much for Lachlan. In Petro's match against Nugo, he lost the first 2 rounds, I believe, because Nugo is just so explosive, but he was able to get the stop in round 2, and he just slowly gassed him out, and eventually he was able to turn Nugo palm up, and the match was his. So I think this is going to be another one of those really close matches, but I'm going to give it to Petro. All right, let's move on to Georgi Svetkov versus David Dadikin on the left arm. Guys, I'll be honest, I have no clue how to call this one. My gut says David Dadikin, maybe. Now, I know David is known for his hook strength, but I believe he can top roll as well, and Georgie's left arm is definitely nowhere near his right. I believe Georgi actually beat Devin Laird on the left arm, but that was back when Devin wasn't training his left, so I don't put a whole lot of stock in that win. So I think I'm going to have to go with David Dadikin, but man, I just don't have a lot of good reasoning for that. So I'll be happy to just sit back and watch how this match plays out. All right, next up, the match that I am most excited for, Matt Mask versus Nugo Chikadze. So like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Petro Marharant, Nugo has lost. He lost that match 3-2, but recently he's been on somewhat of a winning streak, and he is all the rage. He looks incredible. But when we look back at that match that he lost to Petro, he had one weakness. It was not his cupping, it was not his side pressure, it was not even his rise. He lost the match when he lost his pronation. And I am hoping with every fiber of my being that Matt's long levers, his explosive low hand top roll is going to be the tool to get the job done. Now, something I've noticed with Nugo's matches is that even though he's a short guy, he's got shorter levers, somehow he always seems to secure the high spot. He secures the height in the match. He did this against Rob Vigent Jr. Even though Rob has a longer lever, a bigger hand, somehow Nugo always has the height. But I think the difference with Matt is going to be so great that even if Matt goes for a low hand top roll, which I believe he will, I think he could practically have his entire thumb pad in the fingers of Nugo and still maintain the height, which would be exactly what he needs to attack the fingers of Nugo to hopefully break that wrist back. So I'm going to go with Matt on this one, but I'll be honest, I'm very scared. I think Matt could be susceptible to the side pressure of Nugo. I think it's possible that Nugo just goes sideways and wins, and it's like a really quick match. So Matt's going to have to be really smart on the setup, maintain the height, and not let Nugo get the jump on him. All right, let's move on to Todd Hutchings versus Rustam Babayev for the 95 kg world title match on the right arm. So as you all know, Todd Hutchings has historically had trouble against elite hook pullers. And if Rustam Babayev is good at anything, it is hook pulling. He has lightning fast reflexes and a very strong cup, and in the past he has gotten the better of Todd. I believe they've pulled twice in the past, and Rustam has won both times very convincingly. So I think Todd is actually the underdog heading into this match, but I'm going to give the win to him anyway, and I'll tell you why. I think in the past, Todd has been more of a hook-based side pressure puller, and he's kind of transformed himself into a top roller. It's a very weird top roll. It's more of a side pressure-based top roll than a back pressure-based top roll. Recently, I'm sure you've seen that Todd has been taking the hand of his opponents, and even in his last match with Irakli, when Irakli got the jump on him, he was still able to bring it back to center and go on the offensive from there. So I think I'm going to predict that Todd is able to get the stop, and he will get his first win over Rustam Babayev. All right, next we have Georgi Tautiev versus Zurab Tavbaridze. So I think the only other match that Georgi has had at East versus West was his previous match with Irakli Zerkashvili. Irakli beat him quite convincingly, and Zurab has been out for a while. I think his last match was against Petro, where he lost pretty convincingly. I know in the past he did break his arm, so I hope he's all healed up from that, and I think if he is, he might win this match. I'm going to give it to him. I think he's got great side pressure. Georgi, while being a very good top roller, I just think he's lacking a little bit of arm strength, and Zurab can pull without his hand, so I'm going to give the win to Zurab. All right, let's move on to Ivan Matyushenko versus Sergei Kalinchenko. So Ivan is known for being very good on the left, but this is a right arm super match, and I believe in his previous match he beat Kamil Jablonski on the right arm 3-0, and in the distant past he has beaten Levon and Vitaly in the hook. So while he is known for his left arm, he is very good on the right as well. And Sergei, he's kind of a surging up and comer. He's been doing really good lately. He just had a good win over Frank Lamparelli, where he top rolled him outside of straps, he pressed him, he held on. He's got great grip strength, so he is no joke, but I do not think that Sergei can top roll Ivan. And if you remember Sergei Kalinchenko's match against Georgy Dzernov, he lost that match because he could not hang with Georgy in the hook. He top rolled him, I believe, the first 2 rounds, and then after that, Georgy was able to get him into the hook, and he could not win from there. And the fact that Ivan was able to keep Kamil Jablonski from getting into his press, I don't think Sergei is better than Kamil in the press, and I don't think Sergei can top roll Ivan. So I'm going to give this one to Ivan. All right, let's move on to the last match. I hope I didn't miss any because I'm not going to go back and re-record this. So let's get to it. Genadi Kvikvinia versus Ibragim Sagov for the interim heavyweight title. So I went back and I watched a bunch of Ibragim Sagov's matches, and this guy gets into a war every time. He's got very good endurance. He got into a 7-round war with Reno Masick. He lost 4-3, but that was a very impressive performance from him. He beat Sandra Sadis 3-0, but that was also a war. It was much closer than the score would suggest. He also got into a war with Todd Hutchings. He lost that one 3-2, so not a bad loss by any means. I'm pretty sure he also beat Chance Shaw, so this guy's been very active. He's got good endurance, and he's got a ton of quality muscle. Genadi, on the other hand, I think he generally weighs in around 310 pounds, so he's going to have some weight to lose. He's going to have a lot of water to cut, so I'm really interested to see what this smaller version of Genadi is going to be capable of. Recently, he lost to Monster Michael Todd. He got destroyed by Devin Larratt. As we all know, he has that bicep injury. Hopefully, it's all healed up by now, but regardless, Genadi has a very good hook, a very good press. Honestly, they're quite similar in their pulling styles, but Genadi does have the ability to top roll, whereas Ibragim, I don't think he's ever top rolled. So Genadi may have more options in this match. I don't think he's going to go for the top roll because Ibragim's press is so good. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to give this win to Ibragim. I think his technique just looks much cleaner than Genadi's, and I think for the weight class, he definitely has a ton of quality muscle, whereas I think Genadi's going to have to lose some fat to come down to heavyweight, and along with that, he's going to lose some muscle and obviously strength. So I'm going to to go out on a limb here. I think Ibragim's obviously the underdog going up against Genadi, but I think he's just got really clean technique. He's got quality muscle. He's a big guy. He's got really good endurance. He's been in a lot of wars, and I think after losing to Reno, he really wants to prove that he is the rightful holder of the title. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I'm sure I made a ton of mistakes in this video, so you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments. I'm super excited for this card. I think this is definitely one of the best cards we've ever gotten, and I'll be honest, man, so many of these matches feel like a toss-up, and that is what makes a great card. So thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.